Hi, my name is Greg Schwarzy, a 27-year veteran firefighter and paramedic. During my time on the job, I've been called out dozens of medical emergencies that involve opioid overdoses, typically heroin or heroin fentanyl mix. Of these emergencies, I have responded to at least 6 deaths that I can remember vividly. The ages of my victims have ranged from roughly 16 years old to 50. Out of those 6 deaths, the one that affected me the most was the last one, the 6th one. See, in the first 5, I acted as a paramedic. Me and my crew worked on the patient. We did everything we could to try to save their life, and sadly to no avail. But the last one, my job was to console the parents, talk to the parents, see what their needs were, and their life had just been turned upside down. They just witnessed their 18-year-old daughter pass away. It's horrific. It's a horrible, horrible situation. There's no consoling them. The extreme grief and horror that they must have felt struck me to the core. Their whole world is turned upside down and would never be the same. Addiction is a disease. Opioid addiction is a deadly disease. The effects and changes that opioids have on your brain from the very first time you take it make this disease like any other. Addiction begins with the very first time. The only way to stop it is to never try it, not even once. Please educate yourself, educate your children. Start educating your children at a very young age. Teach them to be strong, to be safe, and to say no. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Rob, and I am one of the founding members and an officer with My Child's Life Matters. And it's a privilege to talk today on Overdose Awareness Day. My wife and I are currently engaged in working throughout the community to bring a light to the darkness of the opiate pandemic that is destroying our country right now. We consider it to be, in our lives, priority 1. We have done this. We've been an organization established for 4 years. I've been working in recovery for closer to 2.5 decades with individuals. And over the years, my experience has led me to see that the finances and resources that have been poured out to address this topic are spent most frequently on harm reduction. And while we find it to be a necessary evil in the recovery community, Kathy and I are more geared towards working hands-on with the family members and trying to get to the root of what's causing the fentanyl poisonings that are happening in DuPage County and Cook County and throughout the entire country every day, and to really dig in deep and find the cause. So we work specifically with family members and parents that have lost young people to fentanyl poisonings. We do consider the sale of fentanyl to be attempted murder. That's what we focus on. In regards to that, we don't make apologies for that, and we address it as such. When we work with our families and when we work with young people that are interested in coming out of the addiction community, we try to get them where they need to go. But more often than not, currently with the increase in fentanyl poisoning related deaths, we see that the majority of young people that are dying are in a category of weekend users or party goers or experimental users that are simply doing the same thing that kids have been doing for decades and decades and decades, and not realizing what their hands are into and ending up dying from fentanyl the first time they use or the second time they use, or just because they were at a party and at the wrong place and at the wrong time. And so our address is more towards families that do not understand the difference between addiction and fentanyl poisoning. We try to create awareness about how prevalent the problem is And we feel like fentanyl is enemy number one to our young people in the United States of America right now. We make no apologies for stating that or for believing that. And we're here today to support everybody who is currently battling the epidemic, the pandemic in our country, in any arena that is battling addiction. This is just currently our battle, is with the hypocrisy in the recovery system and the lack of education towards the mental illnesses and the trauma that comes through the horrific idea of losing a child or losing a son or a daughter. That's what we focus on, and it's an honor to be a part of this. I know that my wife has talked about why we do what we do and how the whole thing started. We hope and we trust that as we move forward here in DuPage County, in Glendale Heights, Carroll Stream, and elsewhere, that we can just shine a light into the darkness of what's going on around us. A lot of people we know say that it's not happening in our backyard, and we're here today just to simply let you know that it is happening in your backyard. And we hope that people will wake up to that before it's happening in their home today. So thank you for your time, and it was an honor and privilege to speak at this event. Thank you.
In 2012, when I was first elected state representative for the 46th district, I had no idea that I would become an expert in overdose, addiction, and mental health. Our county, our state, our country, our communities have been hit very, very hard. I chair the mental health committee for the state. I also chaired the working group during the COVID crisis on mental health and addiction. One of the most important things that came out of that working group was realizing during this crisis how very important telehealth is to reaching out to people when they're in isolation, to making sure that people are getting the care and the support that they need. Addiction is not a crime, it's a disease. And we need to say those things. We need to remove the stigma around this disease. We are facing unprecedented struggles, mentally, emotionally. We're facing some social isolation. Those are challenges we need to talk about. We understand them. We're going to get through them. We will get through them together. So please, talk to the people in your lives. Take away the stigma around the disease of addiction. And together, let's fight this crisis.
My name is Kathy, co-founder of My Child's Life Matters. We started My Child's Life Matters back in 2016. We believe in addiction. We believe in recovery. We believe in mental illness. We believe that there are many areas that are broken in this system. On July 26th of 2016, we lost my son to a fentanyl poisoning in Glendale Heights. After sitting with the coroner, trying to figure out what fentanyl even was, now daily comes up in conversations with many families at least 40 to 50 times a day. This is something that is unacceptable. This is something that needs to be changed. This is a real pandemic. So today, we ask that you take a moment and realize how many people are dying from drug-related deaths daily. There's hundreds of families that are getting broken up and destroyed by this. The drugs are overflowing in our backyards, in all of our backyards. These kids are not deadbeats. They are not junkies. I myself, prior to losing John, was a mom that said, not my kid, and the tables have turned, and it is my kid. So I stand here today with many moms behind me. Our kids were wonderful kids. They weren't perfect. They made a stupid choice to get high, and they died, and they have suffered the consequences. And us as family members, we struggle daily. We miss them. We love them. Many of us have rolled up our sleeves, like my husband and I, and have hit the ground running, trying to help people, help them break out of the addiction, helping the family members after they've destroyed, stolen, taken everything, trying to get them back on their feet. The main focus that My Child's Life Matters is doing right now is trying to get the laws changed for drug-induced homicide. There has been a law on the books in the state of Illinois since 1989, a drug-induced homicide law. And we need to use this more, especially with all the drug dealers that are getting away with pushing poison on the streets to our children that are killing them. We don't take this lightly. We take this very serious. We understand that people deal drugs, that are addicts, and they're supplying their own habit. We understand that. But something has to change. The system is broken. This world is broken. So every day we get up, we get our shoes on the ground, and whatever comes at us, we take on full force. We just ask that we break the stigma of this. And these are people's children's brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. They're human beings. The statistics that you see, that's one life, one family member, one broken family that's really trying to hold it together throughout the day. So we just ask that you take a moment today, do some research, educate yourself, and just roll up your sleeves, because this is going to take a whole community and a whole village to really help this pandemic to come to an end. We thank you for your time. God bless.
Hi, I'm James Mendrick, the DuPage County Sheriff. Thank you for listening to me today. Today we're discussing awareness about heroin, and I'd also like to include mental health. I have a correctional facility, the only one in DuPage County, and what we've noticed is 80%, that's a massive number, 80% of the people coming into our facility are addicted, whether it's alcohol, heroin, cocaine, they're addicted to something. A good portion of those addictions are entwined with mental health issues. It's very common for people that are experiencing mental health issues to self-medicate. And many of the things that we're dealing with start with prescription drugs. We've noticed that there's been hoarding. A lot of younger people, there will be like 4 prescriptions in a case. And it'll be a siphoning method where the person will take a pill out of bottle 1 and 3 today, 1 pill out of 2 and 4 tomorrow, and that continues. As the addiction gets worse on the pills, because the pills are really truly the same substance, it's opioids, it's heroin. As the addiction builds, then all of a sudden somebody discovers that their prescriptions are being consumed. Once they realize that, that source is taken away, and that's typically when somebody will convert from prescription pills to something like heroin, because heroin is a very cheap drug right now. It's coming in large amounts. We also have what we call deterra pouches that we've been handing out everywhere we go. Basically, it's a little Ziploc pouch. You just open it, you can put all your unused medications in there, half a cup of water, seal it, agitate it, and you can just throw it in your garbage. It's biodegradable, it's all environmentally sound, it dissolves, and it's designed to dissolve in landfills, and it gets all those prescriptions, unneeded prescriptions, off the market. We give those out by request at our dispatch center. We also give them out at all the events that we do. We're trying to eliminate some of this stuff off the playing field. There's no one causation for heroin addiction or mental health issues. There are so many variables and factors that contribute that we need to try to come up with. If there's 20 factors that lead into a problem, we want to try to come up with 40 factors to beat it. So I call it arrows in the quiver, where we try to develop as many different methodologies to attack a problem as we can. So like for the street, We have, for starters, we have 4 narcotics canines. Those are actually a donation of $100,000 from somebody who had a child die of a heroin overdose. So this person funded 4 narcotic dogs for us, so we have those up and running, and we give those not only the services for unincorporated people, which is what we primarily patrol, but we also offer that to all 36 municipal police chiefs if they need a drug dog. We provide that for them. We also, of course, we carry Narcan. We're one of the first agencies to provide Narcan on overdoses. I've personally seen 3 in my career actual resurrections where the parents family were already in the mourning process because the person was deceased, but nasal spray Narcan, for some reason, every time I've seen it work, it's 2 deployments, and they would wake up, they'd resurrect, and the person was dead. So Narcan is a great substance, but even there's scares sometimes because we've had heroin mixed with elephant tranquilizer a couple times too, and that elephant tranquilizer is resistant to Narcan, so it doesn't work then. So those are other factors that we try to stay aware on. We even have Narcan available to all our officers in case they touch objects now. We've had problems with evidence handling, not us particularly, but our culture. We've seen other videos where people be in an evidence lab and touch the material the wrong way, and then the officer would OD himself. That's how powerful fentanyl can be. So with that being said, we're also doing something called post-crisis response teams. That's where I have a deputy in a squad car with a mental health clinician. If there was a drug overdose and there's a known problem with this family, we will go to that house the next day when they're not in crisis and offer services, ways to get help that won't necessarily just be 911. We want meaningful solutions. So sometimes going to where we had calls for service post-crisis and offering an array of options, people are much more rationally minded at that time and more acceptant to take help. So with that being said, we do things on the street. You know, it's also we're doing a new thing. It's an offshoot of our detective division. It's a drug-induced homicide unit. So basically what that is some of our detectives are getting specially trained in, I guess you could call it almost like contact tracing with heroin. We're trying to take an overdose death and backtrack to who the dealer was. If we can identify that dealer, then we charge with drug-induced homicide. That's Bob Berlin in the State's Attorney's Office is working on the inception of this new unit with us. We think that'll be a great way to battle crime because as we're really harsh on the dealers and we're looking for these big arrests to try to curb the problem, on the flip side of it, when these people come into our correctional facility with an addiction to heroin, we know right there that we have to start from second one. So we start with detox. We do full detox. We also have a drug recovery pod. With that, we have to peel off the addiction first to understand the mental health issue. An addiction masks your mental health issue. You can't diagnose it very well without peeling the addiction off. So first we do the detox, then we go right into therapy and psychoanalysis and other psychological services that we can provide once the drug issue is under control. So again, we do drug recovery and we have all these different programs. We have anger management, all the things that feed into it, education. We do a myriad of different job training to give people purpose. We call it hope and purpose. What we try to do is either through family or religion, get these people to understand that there is hope and purpose, that you can get off of heroin. We also do Vivitrol. Vivitrol is an opioid blocker. When a heroin cell comes to your receptor, it attaches to the receptor and that gets you high. What Vivitrol does is it is a substance, it's a 1-month suspended solution, it's a shot. And after you get the injection, for 30 days, you can't get high off of heroin. That receptor, Vivitrol comes and it clogs up the receptor and then heroin bounces off. It's already sealed that receptor. So that is a way to keep people off when they leave the correctional facility. What we're looking at right now is we're in talks to start bringing something called buprenorphine. That is an agonist and antagonist mixed in one injection. It's also a suspended solution. It's like in between Vivitrol and Suboxone. It's a way to help detox. The reason so many people are on heroin and don't get off is, I've been told personally by many inmates, I talk to a lot of the people in drug recovery in our correctional facility, basically withdrawal is like death. It's just a horrible experience. People would prefer death to having to go through that. So that's the barrier to get off of heroin. So we have to break through that, get the person to care enough about their family, religion, even themselves, to make that jump, because it hurts. It's very painful. So we're there with them through that whole process. We get them through detox and then drug recovery is a continuing process all the way through. And when we leave, we also have a re-entry specialist. So we don't want people going home doing the same behaviors that they were doing when they came into corrections. We're trying to correct people. That's what a correctional facility is for, is correction. So, and again, you know, somebody taking heroin, those, I know you go to jail for it, but truly many of them are victims. Again, the leading cause of drug use is mental health issues. So if you take somebody with a mental health issue and then you take you know, somebody who's the bad people in the world, the drug dealers, they're not taking their own drugs. They're running a business and they're preying on our children to perpetuate their business. So those are the ones that we are targeting for the felony charges on the drug-induced homicides. But the people just taking the drugs, they're victims. So we have an opportunity to change that behavior in our correctional facility. So when you go into through all of our programs, then we do a re-entry specialist that reaches out to the home environment where the person's destination is going to be to make sure that, hey, maybe you shouldn't have alcohol in the fridge anymore. Please make sure that we're getting to these AA meetings, at the job that we're getting them, that this person's going to, that we're going to need family assistance. We're going to need friend assistance. We don't want them to go back home into an environment that would just basically be like Groundhog Day, start all over again. We don't want that. We want to try to actually meaningfully fix people. After reentry, there's still continued follow-up. We work with WorkNet DuPage with the jobs, the county health department. It takes a village to really take care of this. We need as many resources as we can to fix this problem. That takes community buy-in, that takes government buy-in, health department, certainly the police. The police have to realize that we're the first contact with most people going through these issues. And if we go through a process to where we are going to rehabilitate the people that we can, and we're going to arrest the people peddling this poison to our children. That's our bifurcated goal in our fight against heroin. So basically, the sheriff's office is trying to stay on the cutting edge of all of the different possibilities, everything from medication-assisted treatment to enforcement through canine, through vehicle enforcement, all that kind of stuff. We're doing a good, effective job. We're looking at maybe having an independently run drug unit soon. Obviously, it's a manpower issue, but we're working on that now. But right now, I think we're at a pretty good place to where we're starting to actually get a grip, and we're starting to see many people change. I've gotten several letters from people that were in jail or recently released from jail saying that, thank you for arresting me, for I found treatment. I cleaned myself up, I've got a job. So every one of those just reconstitutes how important this is. It's a big problem out there. The PCRT, the post-crisis response team that I told you about, where they go to the houses the day after, their duties and responsibilities have gone up almost 400% this year. So it's showing that need. I wish I had more mental health clinicians, because that unit is at a glass ceiling. They're handling as many possible cases as they can. 400% increase is as high as it goes. But that number correlates very closely to about a 400% increase in overdose calls that we're going to. You know, years ago, those would have all been deaths. Now, Narcan's changed that. Even people have become so acceptant that their children or somebody in their family are going to do heroin that they keep Narcan in the house themselves. So a lot more overdoses are being saved through Narcan, but the overdose level is astronomically high right now. It's because you don't have that one-on-one drug recovery and AA and Narcotics Anonymous. That is something that you need to be in front of a human being, human contact. It's no way to really productively Zoom drug treatment. It takes away that human factor. It makes people fall off the wagon because they're not getting that support that they do from a human contact. When that happens, and if somebody falls off the wagon and goes to use heroin again, if they use what they were using before, when their resistance is down because they haven't used in a year or more, then that's where the ODs occur. Because it's very common now that heroin isn't being stepped on or mixed with another substance to get more of it or to weaken it. So you're getting very high potency product, many times mixed with fentanyl. And if you're not used to using that and you take a normal dose, you are going to have an OD. That's where we're noticing a lot of these are occurring. It is definitely conjunctive with the lack of services that can be in person. So with that being said, it's up to us all step up and help, because with the services as limited as they are, because we're dealing with COVID and a myriad of other problems, we can't lose these people. We can't forget about them, and we need more community support. That's why I call it takes a village. It takes a lot of hands on this problem to actually make it work. And again, what we do, our goal is to bring more solutions than more causations of the problem. So that's pretty much what we're doing here in DuPage County.